I grew up in an ordinary Christian home, the last of 5 children. My parents were simple people, firm in faith and full of love. They raised us to live right, to fear God, and to respect others. They succeeded, at least on the outside. I grew up decent, disciplined, and quiet. But deep down, I didn't really know God. I was just a good boy. When I got into the university, being good wasn't hard. I made friends easily, both with those who loved the church and those who lived wildly. At night, we sat out together. We would eat suya, share jokes, and talk about everything from school to girls. While they drank and smoked, I stuck to my soft drinks. I didn't condemn them, and they didn't mind me. Christmas was sacred in my family. As Igbos from eastern Nigeria, we traveled home to our village every year. It was a reunion of hearts, our little world bursting with joy, laughter, and love. The air itself seemed to hum with excitement. Dusty roads came alive with music, children ran barefoot, and the smell of roasted meat filled every corner. That year, as usual, I joined my cousins and friends for our nightly gatherings. We sat under dim lights at a local beer parlor, cracking jokes, eating suya, and boasting about our escapades in school. I laughed along. Until one night. One of my cousins looked at me and said, "Guy, you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't even chase girls. You be Jewman, oh." Everyone burst into laughter. The word Jewman in our local parlance meant a weakling, someone not bold enough to do what real men did. I forced a laugh, pretending it didn't bother me. But it did. The word echoed in my mind long after the laughter faded. That night, lying in bed, I replayed it again and again. Jewman. The more I thought about it, the more it burned. I didn't want to be the odd one out anymore. I made a quiet vow. By the next Christmas, I would prove I wasn't a Jewman. I would be a big boy. Back at school, I began my project. Slowly, I started to do the very things I once avoided. A little drink here, a puff there. My conscience screamed, but I told myself it was fine. I was in control. Soon, I could sit among them without feeling odd. I was no longer the Jewman. But what I didn't know was that I was losing something far more precious than their approval. Then Christmas came again, the season of joy, laughter, and reunion. Our village came alive with music and smiles. I was ready to show them how much I'd grown. My siblings and I walked into my cousin's house with confidence, eager to see everyone. But something was different. My cousin welcomed us warmly, but his eyes were calm, peaceful, almost glowing. As we sat down to talk, he told us a story that made my heart pound. He said he had a dream. In that dream, he found himself standing before the gates of hell. It was fire everywhere, real and terrifying. He screamed for help, but no one came. Then suddenly, he saw light. He saw Jesus. Jesus pulled him out, and he woke up trembling. That night, he surrendered his life to Christ. "I can't explain it," he said, "but I met him. I met Jesus. I'm done with my old ways. I want to live for him now." I couldn't believe it. My cousin, the same one who once led the wildest escapades, had become born again. I forced a smile and left, hoping it was just a phase. Then I went to see IK, another of our big boys. But the shock doubled. IK too had become born again. He told me how he had been convicted during a church program and surrendered his life to Christ. 2 of my closest friends, now born again. 2 Jewmen. And there I was, empty, confused, pretending to be proud of what I had become. That Christmas was the loneliest ever. I tried to have fun, to impress, to laugh. But the laughter felt hollow. The joy was gone. I had proven I wasn't a Jewman, but in truth, I had lost myself. Years passed. I carried the weight of my choices until mercy found me. When I finally encountered Christ, I began to see clearly. One day, while reading the book of Esther, I stumbled upon a story that changed everything. In Persia, there lived a man named Mordecai, a Jew. He refused to bow before Haman, the king's highest official. Haman, furious, plotted to destroy not just Mordecai but all the Jews in the empire. He deceived King Ahasuerus into issuing a decree to annihilate them. Haman's hatred consumed him so completely that he built a gallows 50 cubits high to hang Mordecai. But that same night, the king could not sleep. Searching through the royal records, he discovered that Mordecai had once saved his life. The next morning, Haman entered the palace, ready to ask for Mordecai's death. But before he could speak, the king asked, what should be done for the man the king desires to honor? Thinking it was him, Haman suggested an elaborate display of honor, royal robes, a parade through the city, and public praise. Then the king said, "Excellent. Go quickly and do all this for Mordecai the Jew." Haman was humiliated. He led Mordecai through the city, shouting praises for the very man he hated. When he returned home in shame, he told his wife Zeresh and his friends what had happened. And they said something unforgettable. If Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is indeed a Jew, you will not prevail against him, but surely you will fall before him. Esther 6 verse 13. That phrase struck me, if indeed he is a Jew. It wasn't enough that Mordecai was called a Jew. His power lay in the fact that he indeed was one. His covenant with God made him untouchable. And in that moment, I understood. All along, I had been ashamed of being called a Jewman. But if only I had known. If only I had understood that being a true Jewman meant being marked by God, chosen, protected, and victorious, I would have worn that name with pride. I was a Jewman at the time but not indeed one. Dear friend, who are you trying to impress? The crowd. The so-called big boys. Many chase acceptance and lose their souls. Many live for applause that dies before the echo fades. But only those who live indeed, who stand firm in truth, find peace. When you are indeed a Christian, the enemy cannot prevail against you. So I ask you today. Who is worth your eternity? Whose laughter will you trade your peace for? Choose wisely. Be indeed a Jew. Be indeed a Christian. If indeed you are one, the enemy will surely fall before you.